Hello and welcome to Arirang News. It is Friday, November 11th. Live from Seoul, I'm Han Daeun. The United States has reaffirmed that Washington's strong commitment to the security of South Korea, one of its biggest Asian allies, will continue to strengthen under the presidency of Donald Trump. The statement out of the Obama-controlled White House came just hours after Trump reaffirmed the alliance during telephone talks with President Park Geun-hye. Lee Min-young starts us off.
The White House has pledged that the United States will strengthen its alliance with South Korea under the Trump administration. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest said at a briefing this week that there's a Democratic and Republican tradition to strengthen Washington's alliance with South Korea, adding that the decades-long partnership supersedes any individual presidency or political party. Experts in the U.S. agree with the assessment out of the White House. Donald Manzullo, president of the Korea Economic Institute, said at a conference on Thursday that the U.S.-South Korea alliance will remain strong under Trump, saying the relationship between South Korea and the U.S. is unusual and nobody wants to see the quality of it impaired. Trump's victory has cast uncertainty over diplomatic relations between Seoul and Washington as he made a series of controversial remarks during his campaign over U.S. security commitments overseas. The remarks raised concerns that there could be a policy discontinuity in many areas, including North Korea, which requires a strong and united front by South Korea and the U.S. Trump's win also threw into doubt the fate of the free trade agreement between the two countries, as the president-elect has denounced it as a job-killing deal and vowed to scrap or drastically change the pact. Lee Min-young, Arirang News.
Seoul and Washington's bilateral ties may remain strong, but anti-Trump protests are spreading across the United States, with demonstrators now flooding the streets of Washington, D.C., New York, and many other cities nationwide. This is an expansion of protests that began in cities like Boston and Berkeley a day after Trump beat Hillary Clinton to the White House. Police installed barricades after thousands of demonstrators marched to the president-elect's residence at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue and Trump International Hotel. While the protests were largely peaceful, the NYPD confirmed at least 65 people were arrested on various charges. Since Wednesday night, hundreds have gathered outside the White House and Trump's new Washington, D.C. hotel for a candlelight vigil and protest. South Korea and Japan are forging ahead with their plans for a bilateral military intelligence sharing pact. Seoul's Defense Ministry spokesman said Friday that Seoul and Tokyo will hold their third round of working-level talks next week and proceed with the signing of the General Security of Military Information Agreement next year. The Defense Ministry has asked the Foreign Ministry to forward the document to the Ministry of Government Legislation for approval. Under the deal, South Korea will be able to receive information on North Korea's missiles directly from Japan's surveillance satellites. The pact failed to materialize in 2012 as critics in South Korea accused the government of trying to seal the deal behind closed doors. At the National Assembly, opposition lawmakers are currently grilling key government officials, including Prime Minister Hwang Yuan, in relation to the ongoing probe into the abuse of power scandal swirling around the president's confidant. The lawmakers are focusing their inquiry on whether current cabinet members, including the Justice and Culture ministers, were a part of Choi Soon-sil's influence peddling and corruption schemes. The officials mostly remained cautious, saying that they cannot respond to questions because of the ongoing investigation into the case. Justice Minister Kim Hyun-woo did say, however, that the Choi family's properties worth hundreds of millions of dollars could be confiscated if it turns out that the assets were gained through illegal activity. Ruling party lawmakers opted not to take part in the session. Turning now to the latest on the investigation into the Choi Soon-sil power abuse scandal. Another day, another arrest of Choi's alleged network of associates, and even more arrest warrants and interrogations are slated for today. Let's get further details from our Kwon Jang-ho at the News Center. Chang-ho, fill us in.
Good afternoon, Mark. Now let's start with Cha Eun-taek. He's the music video producer thought to be a close aide to Choi Soon-sil, and together they're alleged to have used the connections with President Park to extort money from Korean businesses. Cha is accused of embezzling almost $1 million through an ad agency he owned. He was detained on Wednesday and is set to appear in court in an hour's time for a hearing on an arrest warrant, which is expected to be approved late tonight. In connection with Cha, the CEO of Korea's largest steelmaker, POSCO, is set to undergo questioning this evening regarding his involvement in the sale of an advertising subsidiary. Now, Kwon Ho-jun is the first chief of a major conglomerate to be summoned for matters related to Cha. POSCO sold the advertising arm Poreka to an ad agency, and that agency is said to have come under pressure from Cha to hand over its shares. The CEO is scheduled to appear at the Seoul prosecutor's office at 7 p.m. tonight. And finally, the investigation into former presidential secretary Woo Byung-woo is also well underway. He's accused of turning a blind eye to Choi Soon-sil's activities and allowing her to abuse the power of the presidential office for her personal gain. Prosecutors raided Woo's house late last night, and Woo is expected to be called back for more questioning soon. Back to you, Tan.
Thank you, Chang-ho, for that. Keep us updated throughout the day. On the economic front, Korea's central bank has kept its key rate steady at 1.25% for November. This marks the fifth consecutive month the central bank has left its rate unchanged after a rate cut in June. The wait-and-see approach comes amid growing uncertainties surrounding a potential shift in U.S. economic policy following the surprise election win for U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, on top of concerns related to the slowdown of the Chinese economy and Britain's planned exit from the European Union. The rate freeze also comes amid concerns about Korea's growing household debt, which hit an all-time high of over 1.1 trillion US dollars as of the end of June. And that does it for now. I'll be back with more headlines at 4 p.m. Korea time. Stay with us.